Hey guys, and welcome to season 3 of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and in this season, I get to make my guests laugh, cry, and even make them think about life a little differently with the questions I fire over to them, which digs into their lives and professions a little differently. We even had a chance to change up the intro, giving you a fresh, new sound. I look forward to sharing season 3 of the Us People podcast with you. Let's go.
Hello, my name is Elliot Porter. I'm a singer-songwriter and professional musician. I'm very pleased to be here today. You are listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Oh, bro.
I've done a bit of podcasting in my life. So.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
You're a pro, Elliot. You just was like, yeah, I'm going to go in and I'm going to knock it out one time. Okay.
Yeah.
Made up my mind, now is my time to shine. Now is my time to shine. Time that you let go, time that you let go, now is my time to shine.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Rocks, and today I'm humbled to have Elliot here with me, who is a music professional and also a freelance copywriter at EP Copywriter. Did I say that correct, Elliot? Did I say all that correct?
Right. Yep, freelance copywriter. Yeah.
Ah, it's perfect. Elliot, thank you so much for coming on the Us People podcast. How are you?
No worries. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm okay actually. Thank you. Yeah, dealing with the latest lockdown, but trying to stay busy.
I know how you feel.
Yeah, pretty much like everyone. So yeah.
I definitely know how you feel. So Elliot, it's lovely to have you on the show. Thank you so much once again. But my first question to absolutely everyone who comes on the show is, could you tell me a little bit about who you are as a person and what influenced you to be the person who you are today?
Yeah, sure. So I would like to think that I'm a pretty kind of level kind of person who takes in a lot of stuff. So I kind of have like a sponge-like personality. I think that helps me create things that I create. I love to hear people's stories. I like to take in information. I like to kind of look beyond the kind of what's right in front of me and kind of delve into kind of people's stories and how they do things they do. And I'd like to think that I'm kind of quite an approachable kind of guy and open to things, because I think that's an important part of life, is being open to.
Yes, I agree.
To going forward, really. Yeah.
Definitely, I love that. Well, where did you grow up, Elliot? What was growing up like for you?
Yeah, so I grew up around about halfway between London and Cambridge, which is where I'm kind of from. And growing up was cool. Yeah, it was nice. I had a very musical family, hence why I kind of do what I do. We always had like a musician, someone playing in the house. We had a piano. My dad plays guitar. Both my granddads played piano, and there was always music going on. Musical family, so I kind of grew up listening to a lot of good music and influences from loads of different artists, but also people around me as well.
Oh, wow, so you naturally just had a musical house. Anywhere you went, your house was just musical.
Yeah, it's really lucky. I mean, I feel very lucky to have had that. I was always encouraged to play music. I didn't necessarily do it when I was a young kid, but I kind of grew into it. And we always play music at Christmas and stuff, and family get-togethers. We had a family like band as well at some point, where we kind of all played different instruments as well.
How do you feel about families that turn around to their kids and say music is not an education, or it's not a way of life because it's not going to bring enough money? And how do you feel about music and parents if they were to inflict that on their children by saying this?
I feel it's really sad, because I feel within music there's so many different avenues you can take. And actually learning music is a really good education for other things that you can do as well. I do teach a little bit of piano sometimes, and it may not end up being a career for everyone, but even if it doesn't, it will still give you loads of good skills and loads of life experience, which you don't get from other things. So I feel it is a bit sad if parents don't want their children to be around and learn music, but it's a very difficult industry, admittedly. But some people will carry on doing it and make some money out of it. Some people won't. But I think it's good to learn an instrument at least.
Let's talk a little bit about copyright, because I know that's one of your expertise, and I know copyright is like having the crown jewels in your hands for a lifetime. But just in your view, what does copyright mean to you, and how powerful is owning your own copyright?
Yeah, okay. So I have to make a distinction here, because I'm actually a copywriter. So I write copy for like websites and things like that, and blogs. So, but it's a really good point, because copyright in the music industry is also something I know about from writing songs. And I think having the copyright in your hands is like, like you say, it is the crown jewels. For me, when I was growing up as a songwriter, the idea of owning my own songs was just really powerful, because you can do so much with what you've created, and it lasts for like 50 years. So you've got a lifetime of songs there, and the stuff you can do with it. So for me, copyright is in that sense is massively important, and making sure you've got that all lined up and not giving it away too easily.
Have you ever given any of your copyrights away to anyone? Or because I know sometimes as a writer yourself, a songwriter, you would write a song and then realize maybe this doesn't suit my voice, but it suits somebody else's voice. But sometimes what artists do also, which I'm sure you know about, because we all do research when it comes to songwriting also, is that sometimes the artist may not sing the song and the writer may have written the song. But then the artist becomes very demanding and then starts to ask for royalties. Has that ever occurred or happened to you, in any kind of way?
Well, I have written songs with other people. I've been fortunate when I've done that. We've kind of come to an agreement first where we kind of split the royalties accordingly, with a percentage kind of thing. So I'm lucky in that respect, but I have heard of other people where that's happened. And I did get involved in something a little while ago where someone was trying to claim copyright on my songs, and I had to go through a massive kind of thing to get all my songs taken down from different platforms, so I could then resubmit them, and so I got the royalties kind of thing. So I know that goes on, and it's not very nice, but luckily I was able to get all my songs back, and the other party was not able to claim them.
That's a good thing, believe me.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Define yourself as a person, Elliot. Could you tell me who you see when you look in the mirror every day, creatively, but also on an everyday basis? Who do you see when you look in the mirror?
Yeah, so creatively, I think I see someone that always wants to create more and can never kind of create enough. So I see a bit of a hunger to always be creating something new, and that's something that I think I've always had, and I probably always will. I've always got 2 or 3 songs lined up for the next project. I'm always kind of looking forward. I like to look back as well, but I like to look forward. And as a person, again, I'd like to think that I'm quite a creative, approachable kind of person, quite laid back. I listen to people. I think that's important when you're working with people, and also I like listening to people's stories. So that's good for writing as well.
Most definitely, it's definitely something that's a songwriter should be able to do, is listening to their stories, not just have their ego. Because I think with music, you do have to have some type of ego to be able to have that confidence to go on stage if you're a writer or even an artist, to be able to have enough confidence to do that. Could you tell me a little bit about who have been your influences in your life and how have they carried you through to be who you are today and what you actually do?
Yeah, sure. So Yeah, I'll go back to my family again, really. Yeah, both my grandparents, my granddads were piano players, so they kind of, I suppose, introduced me to the piano. And I used to sit on the side of the stage and watch one of them. He was in a band, and I watched him play, and I thought, oh, I always I want to do that at some point. And then, yeah, my parents as well, having a piano in the house and playing me great music, which I could then absorb and then take on. Obviously, they really influenced me, and their support when I said I wanted to kind of quit my job and do music, etc., and things like that. There was always support there. It was always like, well, if you think you can do it, then do it. And I think that's been important in shaping the confidence that you have to be in music. You need people behind you to kind of help. And then I've also got great other people like sound producers. I've got a couple of producers that I've worked with quite consistently. I've got a photographer that I work with a lot, video people that I usually go to. So I've got a nice team of people that I respect and I can bounce ideas off as well.
That sounds really good to me. What was it like performing for your first time in front of people? How did that make you feel?
Yeah, well, very nerve-wracking when it's the first time. I don't get so nervous now. I'm a bit nervous, but proud actually. I think proud that you could kind of stand up there and play an instrument and sing. I remember the first time I sung a song, especially one of my own songs. I felt quite proud that I'd managed to crack that kind of thing that I always wanted to do, because it's a bit of a dream when you're a kid, and you listen to all these brilliant artists and you think, and you watch their shows and DVDs and stuff, and you think, oh, I really want to do that, but it seems like a million miles away. So when you finally end up doing it yourself, it's just a happy feeling. Yeah.
Definitely, I agree with you. That it's actually really an overwhelming feeling as well. I don't know if you haven't ever had that overwhelming feeling when you're on stage and you look at everyone and then you see them all looking back because you're the focus.
Yeah, absolutely. That sometimes comes every now and then, and like you kind of get an out of body experience, and you kind of look
that's it
at the audience, don't you? And then you see them looking back, and you think, oh wow, this is actually happening. When we sold out shows and stuff with my band, that often happened because I thought, oh wow, all these people have come to see us, and in some way it's nerve-wracking, but also it's really beautiful.
Define what success means to you, Elliot. What does success mean to you? Because we all have a different definition of what success means to us, but what does it actually mean to you?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I've had this conversation. I was having this conversation with someone yesterday, actually, on the phone, and I the more and more I've gone on in music, I feel like success really is a personal thing, because you can't control any outside kind of things. You can't control what people say. You've got this many followers or whatever. You got this many views or whatever and stuff like that. But for me, it's a personal thing. So as long as you kind of feel like you're doing what you think your potential is, and you're continuing to kind of move forward and develop, I think that's success. That's success because that, you can't do any more than that. You can't do any more than do what the maximum you think you can do.
Yeah. Has there ever been a point in your life where you felt stuck? Because music has a way of triggering emotions within us, and those emotions trigger other things within us. It could be confidence, it could be self-doubt, it could be good positivity. But has there ever been a point, Elliot, where there was a point in your life where you felt like you had lack of support or things weren't going your way? How did you build up yourself to come back to who you are and be able to not be stagnant in what you want to do, but to be able to keep that drive of continuing to do music?
Yeah, I've definitely had that a couple of times. Most recently before I recorded like my first album, because I'd done a couple of EPs, and I thought they'd gone really nicely and they've gone well, and I was pleased with the music. But then, I think it was a kind of burnout that I suffered from doing so many gigs and, being all here and everywhere and doing so much stuff, in the world that we kind of used to know, which was really busy. But then I think I kind of suffered a little bit from a burnout, and really the only way to really get back my confidence and things, I don't think I played on stage or live for a good 2 or 3 months or so.
Oh, wow.
But the only way to really get my confidence back was kind of really to almost go back to the drawing board and look at the things that maybe I was doing in my life or in my music life where my energy wasn't being well spent. Maybe I was staying out too long and, enjoying the kind of like scene a little bit too much. And I kind of had to go back to the drawing board and think, actually, what do I really want to do? I really want to make an album. So I need to kind of get myself in a position where I can write songs again, because I did feel a bit stuck. I didn't really write much for a while. In between albums and stuff and EPs, it does sometimes get like that. And for me, I had to go right back to the core of who I was, really. And I almost made a list, and I made a list of things that I think that I was doing well and things that I didn't think I was doing so well. And then I kind of very slowly worked on the things that I didn't think I was doing so well at, and tried to build back up to there. And then it was almost kind of then a little bit of a period. Then I thought I was ready to go and kind of start writing songs again, really.
So let's talk more about your songs and your creativity and your style of music. So I'm going to give you 2 questions in one. The first one is, how would you describe your style of music? And the second part to the question is, what has been your most favorite song to write?
Great question. So I would describe my style is probably folk,
I like that.
indie folk, maybe you could call it. But I also feel like I'm quite a classic songwriter. So I'm very influenced by the likes of the Beatles, Neil Young, James Taylor, and people like that. And I find that my songs have a certain, old feel to them as well. So they're kind of like a somewhere hybrid between kind of modern like indie folk and that kind of old classic songwriting, which I love. And actually Noel Gallagher is a bit of a classic songwriter. And I was quite influenced by him as well. So I think I'm a mixture in between there, with the old style, which I love, mixed with stuff that I also love, which has been in the last 10, 20 years. In terms of the song which I enjoyed writing, so that would be actually a single that I released most recently called Legs. I was really, really pleased with that song because it was almost a different approach to how I'd done songs before. And it was actually 2 songs that came into one, and that had never happened to me before. So I had one part of it, and then I had a completely unrelated song, but it wasn't really a full song. It was just a bit, but that bit was really catchy and it was in my head. And I was like, well, I can't leave that off the album. I've got to do something with that. So somehow I came to the idea of putting the 2 together, and it was a really kind of happy accident, and they really worked well together. So then I developed a bit further. So it was quite an in-depth song to write, and lyrically as well. It's quite personal. So I think that song was probably my favorite song to write, and the favorite one to listen to still, actually.
Oh, wow. See? So here's another part to the writing when it comes to favorite songs. And this is quite a hard question. If there was one song in the world that you wish that you wrote, and it can be from it could be your 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, it doesn't matter. What one song would you choose to say, I wish I wrote that song because it's so good lyrically, melody, composition? I saw your face go, ooh. What do you think you would choose?
Wow. Yeah, that's a really, really tough question, but I'm gonna give an answer. So for me, I've always really loved Something by the Beatles,
Yeah. Okay.
written by George Harrison, which
Mm-hmm.
most of their major hits weren't written by George Harrison. And I've just always thought that, I think Frank Sinatra said it was like the perfect love song. And everything about that song is just brilliant to me. And the arrangement's perfect, the lyrics are great, the music's beautiful. It just seems like a song which came together. I don't know how it came together, but every part of it works amazingly well. So I think that would be the kind of song that I'd aspire to write.
Ah, okay. Right, that can go in our Spotify Us People podcast, Spotify track list. I'm definitely going to
Yeah.
put that in there. That sounds cool to me. So, what has been the best thing that has happened to you ever since you started music? Is there a memory that pops into your mind and says, this is an awesome memory, I'll always remember it? What is the one memory that you would like to share with the listeners about you doing music and how it either helped you or just resonated something in you that made you see life or things differently?
Yeah. I think there is one moment actually. So when I released my album last year, Lanes, we did a uh, album launch in central London, and I managed to get my band together, and we put it all together. We played the whole album pretty much, and we sold out the venue pretty much. And it was a really cold day, a really cold night. It was snowing, and just looking out in the audience, it was one of those moments where you kind of stop and you look and you think, oh wow, there's all these people here that have come to support this. This is kind of like the beautiful moment that I imagined it would be if we did an album and we launched it, and we've launched it like this. And I was just kind of like so happy. I didn't want to leave the stage that night, and
Oh,
that's the kind of like feeling you want to get, really, isn't it?
yeah, it is. It totally is, because it's memories like that that will always last forever, no matter
Mm,
where you go, no matter how old you get. And, you know, it's experiences that you can share as well, to say it's kind of like believing in your dream, seeing it come true, and then saying to yourself, I knew that if I worked hard and just believed in myself, I would get to where I want to.
absolutely. That's it. That's it.
That's definitely. What's your most proud? What are you most proud of that you stand for?
Mm. I think authenticity is it for me.
That's a good one.
Whether it's music, whether it's life, whether it's friendships, whether it's relationships. Um, I expect it of myself, and I expect it of other people, and and I hope that it comes across in my music and all the things I do around music, and in my other career as well. And I think that's for me. That's what I stand for the most, and it's something that I respect when I see other artists. As long as people are being honest, I,
Yeah.
I, I like them. I love anything honest. I love seeing. Well, when we could go to gigs, I love seeing songwriters. I love seeing poets, spoken word artists, rappers, and stuff. If it's honest, I'm gonna like it probably.
See, what would you do differently if nobody in the world was judging you? Because I ask every guest this question, and
Mm.
there's a reason behind it. We're constantly getting judged every day because of how we look, what we do, how we do it. But if there was no judgment in the world, how do you think you would be as a person?
I'd like to think I'd be pretty similar. I try. It's impossible to blank all that stuff out, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just there, and you can't do anything about it. But if it wasn't there, I like to think I'd be pretty much the same, but maybe more daring, probably. I guess probably like more willing to go into other areas.
That sounds good to me. It- Tell me a little bit about how you feel music can help people. in different ways. So how do you feel music? I know you've told us a little bit about how music has helped you as an individual, but how do you feel music can help people who are starting or want to start to get into music? What would your advice be?
Yeah. Well, I think it can give them a purpose. It certainly did give me a purpose, um, and a reason to kind of want to better myself as well, and keep moving forward. I think it can give people so much. It can give them joy. It can make them feel, and that's what I like. I try and do with my music. Can make them feel things that they maybe didn't know they felt, and it can give them, you know. I think it's so powerful. I think it can give them amazing confidence as well. When I teach, I've seen people go from like zero confidence to like 75, 100% confidence, and
Wow.
it's that development which I think music can do, which can then lead into other areas of life. Um, if I was to give advice to people starting out in music, I would say try loads of different things. Don't be kind of like scared to go wrong. Don't be scared to try things that I played the drums when I first started, and I'm a terrible drummer. I can't play drums at all.
I'm
But
sure you're better than me, Elliot. I'm sure.
but I gave it a go, and then I realized I didn't really like the drums. I like drums, but I couldn't play them myself. So then I found the stuff that I did want to do. So it's not just one thing. You could learn guitar, then might not be for you. You could then learn piano. It might be amazing for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't think that just because one thing you try, maybe you try and write a song, it doesn't work first time, then try again, then maybe 10 times later you might get a song that you really like. And that's what I tell people that are starting to write songs when I'm trying to kind of mentor them and things. It's just keep trying, basically.
See, when it comes to education, do you think that education is enough to get you in the door of the music industry? Or do you think talent is enough to get you in the door of the music industry? Which one would you say is what are the pros and cons of having an education in music? But what are also the pros and cons of being just a really talented individual? Do you feel that you need one of them, or do you feel that you need both of them?
I think you need both, but I feel that a lot smaller percentage of people that are just talented and not educated in some way in the music industry, there's a smaller percentage which will succeed. So some people will just get picked up on pure talent. They fit all the right boxes at the right time, and there they go, and that's great. And then they can develop their knowledge. But what I feel now in the music industry is not so much a formal music education. I don't think that's particularly important. But what I do feel is really important is learning about the industry, because as an artist nowadays, you have to do so much stuff for yourself.
Yes.
You do really have to know all areas of the industry, for one, not to get caught out in certain ways, because it's easy to do that, but also to know where to go and know where to put your energy and develop whatever it is you want to do. I feel like that actually is more important now, than the pure talent, because the talent can develop
Yeah,
over time as well.
most definitely. That's true. Let's talk about the music business, because a lot of artists have the talent, like we were just saying, but yet they don't know about the background of the music business.
Yeah.
Like we talk about copyright, we talk about mechanical, or we talk about the recording. These are all very important things to know about the music industry. Do you think that before an artist becomes established or even goes into the music industry, would you advise them to go and learn about the music behind the music industry first? What would your advice be for that?
I absolutely would. Yeah, I absolutely would. I'd advise them to go to, as many kind of industry events as they can.
Seminars.
The BBC introducing one is actually really good. It's a real shame that they couldn't do it kind of live again this year. But I go to that pretty much every year, and I learn something. I learn 3 or 4 different things every time I go. And I've been doing music for like 10, 15 years. So if I can learn things every year, then a new artist should really go to those things all the time, because I feel you need those tools to be able to survive now in music. I didn't have them when I first started, because it was a kind of different industry then. But I had to kind of learn on as I went. But now I feel you'd be really well equipped if you were a young artist just starting out, and you were able to get this knowledge, this like really, really important knowledge. You're really halfway there to going where you want to go, because your talent will then carry you forward as well. So yeah, I'd say it's hugely important that people go and just learn as much as they can about the industry they want to get into.
See. What is the best advice that you have ever received from somebody, and how has that helped you throughout your life?
Best advice I've ever received. Yeah. So in terms of life, I think my granddad said to me, actually, just make sure you're happy. Basically, make sure you do everything you can to be happy. And I actually included that. It was a quote from him, and we had on record. Bizarrely, we actually videoed it, and I actually recorded it in one of my songs on my album, because I thought it was a really great message.
See, it's really nice, and now you'll always have that memory of your grandfather too, as well. That's really nice. When was the last time you felt totally at peace with yourself?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. I try and do all I can to kind of try and be at peace, but it is hard, especially when you're creating music and stuff.
Oh, definitely. Tell me about it.
Yeah, you're always battling with certain kind of elements and things like that. I think actually, when I feel at peace is when I've done a record or something, or done a song, and I get it back, and it's kind of finished, and it's been mastered and etc. And I'm sitting there listening to it. Then I really feel at peace, because I feel like we've done it. We've kind of, it doesn't last very long, because I want to do something else then. But for a little while, I feel really happy that we've achieved something, and I've achieved what I wanted to do for that moment. And yeah, even no matter what happens with that song afterwards, I'm always at peace when I've heard it and I like it, basically.
See, if I was to put you on a desert island, Elliot, and I was to say you're allowed to take with you one activist, one president, and one musician to have a conversation with for a day, who would you take with you?
So an activist, a politician, an activist, a musician.
An activist, a musician, and a president.
A president, wow, okay. I did really like Obama as president, actually. I think he's a cool guy, and I liked what he stood for, and I think he'd be a good conversationist as well.
Yeah.
I reckon
he's
he'd
a
like
good
his
writer
music
as well.
He likes sport and stuff. So I'd probably take Obama as the president. A musician, tricky one. That's a really tricky one. I'll have to say John Lennon.
Oh yeah, he's one of mine.
Yeah, I'd have to say John Lennon. I mean, you could call him an activist as well, but I'll call him a musician for this purpose. And I just think he'd be great. He'd be a very, very interesting person to speak to. And yeah, it's difficult with an activist. Yeah, I tell you what. I really, really liked Jeremy Corbyn when he was Labour leader. And
there you go.
I guess he's an activist. I saw his speech at Glastonbury and a couple of years ago, and I thought it was really powerful. And I'd like to have a chat with him. Actually, I think he seems like a decent guy, which is rare in politics. I'd like to
See,
have a chat with him.
maybe we should send this to him
Mm.
and then see if we can get you guys to talk.
I'd love to talk to him. Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
See, if there was one song that was the soundtrack of your life now,
Mm.
oh, what song would you choose to represent your life, and why would you choose that song?
Wow. Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to choose a song which I almost chose for the last song question. I'm going to choose Waterloo Sunset by the Kinks because
Oh, okay.
I love that song. I write a lot about London as well, and because I spend a lot of time in London. A lot of my songs have London references in them, and I love that Waterloo reference and Waterloo Sunset. I love the song, and I just feel like it goes along nicely. It makes me relax when I hear that song. It makes me happy. So I'd like to be living somewhere in that song. I think I'd like to see myself living somewhere in there.
Yeah. No, that's a good thing to know. It's funny because every time somebody chooses a song, I kind of get to understand their personality,
Mm.
and it lets the listeners also understand your personality a bit more too, of why you chose that song. I really like that. If you had an unlimited amount of money, what do you believe that you would change in the music industry for the better? What do you think the music industry is lacking or just needs some help in to make it better?
I think it's quite topical at the moment, and I was watching the record labels being grilled by MPs yesterday.
Yep.
The streaming kind of thing for me, I would want to. I've got no problem with like big artists earning loads of money if they've got loads of streams and they've got massive massive fan bases and they're successful. I've no problem in that, but the problem I do have with the system is for independent artists that literally their barometer of success is completely different to like someone that sells 10 billion records or
Exactly.
10 billion streams. Their barometer of success might be 1,000 streams or 10,000 streams
Yep.
or 100,000 streams, and I would just want them to get what they deserve for their work, because they're not with major labels, they're not getting kind of advances and any of the other benefits that you get if you're on a label. They haven't got the PR or anything like that. So I'd want to see some kind of leveling up so that there was a bit more of a tiered system, so that if you're a small artist, you can still earn a little bit of money from streaming. If you're a big artist, and you do well, then you earn a lot of money. But I'd like to see it a bit fairer, I think that's what I'd like to change if I could distribute the money, if it was my money or whoever's
No, it's your
money.
money. No, it's your money.
If it's my money, then I'd pay independent artists to carry on doing what they're doing, because I don't want to see any of them stop creating music. And I know at the moment it's difficult for people, so I want to see them paid properly.
How do you think things will be now, obviously, with everything that's going on in the world, COVID? We don't get any live shows. We don't get to have artists go on a stage and have that atmosphere of people actually seeing them and feeling elevated, and having that drive to always want to do and love music. How do you think music will be in the future now that this has come in? Because this is literally taking over the world and had a major effect. And it's had a major effect on anything that's live in the world, theatre, music, you name it. It's had that major impact. How do you feel that it will now have an impact on music going forward and for any other generations coming in to do music?
Yeah, it's crazy. It really has had a huge effect. And I used to love the live scene, and I was part of it, and I went to shows. I feel like it will have to come back in some way, but I think it will change. Actually, during the first lockdown, I set up a Facebook group called Isolation Gigs, and we did that for artists to have a kind of a platform to share their live stream shows on, because no one could do any music, like live shows. I started doing them myself, and it was, it was really nice to kind of create that community. I feel like there's going to be a mixture of live streaming. I think live streaming will carry on, and I think it'll become better. I think it will become more interactive. It may well be that there's like artists will live stream from venues, and you'll have some audience in there as well. And it may well be that artists carry on doing some live stream shows completely from like a studio or their house, and they do the live shows as well when they can. But I do really hope that we can get touring back, because and gigs, because we all miss them so much, and at the moment it's not looking too good, but I'm hopeful. But I think it will have to change in many ways.
I think they'll definitely, because I was looking, and I don't know how everyone feels about getting the injection, but apparently they said that in order for you to be able to go to a live show, you must have the injection. Not everyone's going to want to get the injection, but I think that's going to have a huge impact also, knowing that so many people may not want to get an injection to go and see their favorite band. Yes, it's about keeping everybody safe, which I totally agree with. Yeah, keeping everyone safe. But I know that that's one of the things that are going to come into play when things start trying to get back to some normality. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I can see the point of view. It worries me a bit with the injection, because like you say, I feel like it's a completely kind of private, what it should be, a private kind of choice.
Exactly.
And it's a healthcare issue. It's a choice with your own personal health. So I don't like the idea of that being kind of a public thing that people will have to kind of show a card or something. So I wouldn't support that. But what I do feel is that there's got to be a way where they can do a lot more with testing, quick testing. If they could get some kind of model in place for testing, before you go to a festival or something, testing at festivals or something like that, just so that you can get people in. I feel like the testing will have to go a lot further. But for me, that would be my personal preferred way of doing it, rather than the vaccine, because it's people's personal choice, and I don't think it should be put in the public.
See, I like that answer. That's a really good answer. What would you change, or what would your superpower be? If I was to give you a superpower, he's smiling. I love it when my guests smile. If I was to say, Elliot, you're allowed to have a superpower of your choice, and the only catch is it has to be used for goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
What superpower would you like to have?
Okay. I would have the power to get rid of inequality, get rid of homelessness, get rid of. I'd want to make people all be able to survive in this world, basically.
This world's not easy, especially right now.
No.
You just had me think. You actually made me stop and think while you was talking to me. I was like, no, this world is not easy. Every day you're seeing something different, and politics is something that I don't touch. But, but is there anything that you would give up to become a better writer?
Wow, yeah. I don't think so, no. I think you have to go through a lot of things, and I think you have to take a lot of things in, both bad and good, to be a good writer. I think it is slightly about the struggle, between good and bad, and things that go wrong. I don't feel like there's anything. If I felt like there was something holding me back in writing, or stopping my productivity or creativity, I'd give that up. But I don't feel like there is.
Is there any questions that you feel people should ask you, but they never ask you the one question. What is the one question that you would like somebody to ask you, but they've never asked you it?
Wow, that's a very hard question. One question that I think, people people never really. People often ask, like how you started in music, where you want to go. They never kind of ask how you're feeling right now about music. Like we've discussed actually tonight, like how you feel in that moment that you're creating. So how you feel that moment you're creating in the studio, or how you feel on the stage. Because I feel music is like a series of moments, and you're in a moment. I think people sometimes are a bit too obsessed with where it came from and where it's going, and what you want to do with it, without kind of going, oh, this is great. How do you feel about this now? You don't really get asked that very often.
Okay. Yeah. It's very true, actually. I'm going through my mind and I'm finding all the question every time I've asked somebody that question. And every answer that I've actually received so far, most of them are 80% of the answer that I have received back is people just want people to ask them, how are you? But you've given me a completely different answer, and that's why I'm really impressed, because people are always saying, why doesn't a person just ask me how I am? But you've taken it to another level where you said, why don't people ask me about how I am emotionally feeling about music at this present time and moment?
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw that question at you now. How do you emotionally feel at this moment about music?
At this moment, I feel kind of sad at the moment, about the state of music. Not the state of music, because music's still brilliant. The state of the music industry, in the world as we are at the moment. That's what I think. I think at the moment I feel sad, but hopeful of better days. But the overall is probably a bit sad about it all at the moment.
I would say keep your optimism in your heart. That will No, honestly, that will always carry you through whenever there is disappointment or any kind of grief towards music, because music you grieve to music too. I always say to people, look for the hope and the positivity that music has done throughout your life and given you that energy to create as a person, because creating is a gift. It's not something that you just wake up in the morning and say, yeah, I'm going to be a musician and create, unless you're very lucky, and create hit songs after hit songs after hit songs. You have to be given the gift. So I always say to people, try and always be as optimistic as possible, and give that optimism and positivity onto other people as well. So that's just my gift to you today, Elliot. Anytime you feel like that. Thank you. What would you like your legacy to be as an individual?
As an individual, I think I'd want people to probably see the good that I've tried to do with music, and see that I've tried to help people along the way as well. With various different projects that I've done, and and I'd like people to say, well, yeah, he always tried to include people, and he always tried to do music for the right reasons. And personally, I feel like music is bringing people together, and that's something that I've always enjoyed doing. I love bringing people together in gigs, in online, and getting people involved in the creation as well.
Definitely. And my last question for you, Elliot, is where can people find you on all your social medias if they would like to get in contact with me? With you, I should say, because I've been lucky enough to have you on the show today, and I would love for other people to be able to get in contact with you. How can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a website, elliottporter.co.uk. I have Facebook, Elliot Porter Music, YouTube, Elliot Porter Music, Instagram, which I'm using a lot at the moment, which is Porter_L. So it's like my name backwards, and
cool.
Twitter the same, Porter L. So you can kind of contact me in any way. I will always respond on a DM or a Facebook Messenger or whatever, or a good old-fashioned email.
Yeah, definitely. Elliot, thank you so much for coming on the Yes People podcast. You've been such a calm guest. I must admit that.
Thank you.
You've been such a humble, calm guest. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge with all the listeners so that they can hear your story. Thank you so much, Elliot.
No worries.
Perfect. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the Yes People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe and also leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also donate to the Yes People podcast by simply going to the Savvy Rocks website or just typing in www.paypal.me/uspeoplepodcast. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another.
Time to let it go. Now's my time. Now's my time. Time to let it go. Now's my time. Now's my time. Time to let it go. Now is the time for me to focus. Stop all that playing hocus pocus. Stop doing it yourself. You need a little help. This time I want to see you shining. I think you need
It is. Yeah, it is. And that's why I wanted to come on, because I think there's not enough kind of platforms which delve into the person a bit more deeply. Like I said, sometimes a lot of the questions are just kind of on the surface, but going and talking about the person that you actually are behind the music as well is a really cool thing. And I've listened to a few of the other ones as well, and it's I can listen to that stuff all day actually. So,
Now is my time to shine.
Great.
Time that you let go, time that you let go. Now is my time to shine. Time to let it go. Now is my time. Now is my time. Time to let it go. Now is my time. Now is my time. Time to let it go. Now is my time. Now is my time. Time to let it go. You are your own worst enemy. Thinking too far, what's ahead of me? One day at a time. Just enjoy the ride. Open those eyes, see the light. Ignite that fire inside it. Let it breathe breath into life. Push all your fears to the side. Control your mind, it's all alright. Enjoy your life, the joy is mine. Commit to you, you got the tools. Everything you do, you make the rules. Sometimes you need